Hello everyone, welcome to week 2. This is August, not October, August 29th. In this video, I'm going to describe the assignments for Module 2, which lasts for the next 2 weeks. So I'm here on the modules page in Canvas, which I got to using the link on the left side there. I have started putting the modules in backwards chronological order so that the most current module will always be at the top. Okay, so you can see it's collapsed now. I'm just going to click on it to expand, and you can see this is all of the things that we'll be doing over the next 2 weeks through September the 11th. We have an overview to the module and a summary at the end, so you can see where this fits in the bigger picture. We have content for you to watch through and read through. We have children's literature for you to read. And we have 2 assignments in this module. One that's due this Thursday, September 1st, and one that's due next Thursday, September 8th. Okay, so content. First of all, we have a lecture from me. In this module, we're looking at illustrations and photographs and comics and diagrams and cartoons and all of the different ways that picture books are illustrated. Mostly picture books, but as you know, there are other kinds of children's literature books that have pictures in them too. Sometimes even chapter books will have pictures in them. So in this video, I go through all of the different uses for illustrations and talk a lot about how illustrations function. How do the illustrations contribute to the story to help the reader create a more detailed or a better picture in their mind? So that's for you to watch. In the next page, we have a link to one of our textbook chapters. Now this one is a little bit different than the others. This is chapter 5, and it is called The Right Reader for the Right Book at the Right Time. This chapter is essentially a reference chapter. It's very long. There's lots of lists of things. So what I would like you to do when I say read this chapter is I'd like you to at least skim through, look at all the different sections that there are so you know what she's talking about here, and then maybe pick a couple to read. In this chapter, the author, Schneider, talks about how to evaluate a children's book. And she looks at 4 questions that, how you can evaluate or tell whether it's a good book or not. One of those questions, actually I think more than one, are about the illustrations, the pictures. How do the illustrations help get the reader's attention? How do they help move the story along, etc.? You can read a lot more in the chapter, but I just wanted to give you the heads up that you do not have to read through every page of this chapter because it is so long, but kind of look through a couple of the sections that you think are most applicable to picture books, and then know that you can come back to this chapter at any time during the semester. There is a download link here to download the file for you to look at that. The next page in this module are a couple of articles. These are articles about writing picture books. There's 2 of them. I'd like you to read at least one of them. You can choose whichever one you'd want. First of all, we've got this one by Gall and Gall. They are a married couple. It's called Comics Are Picture Books, a Graphic Novel Idea. And here's what it looks like. You can download it, you can print it, you can read it online, whatever you'd like. In this chapter, Gall and Gall look at the artistic conventions of pictures. Like, how do we read pictures? Where does that come from? And they use some examples of, for example, they talk about paneled layouts. So in any book that has panels, here's an example of a book that has panels, and you can see how we know that we look at each panel sequentially to kind of see what's happening with the story. They talk about reading left to right. So there are some cultural norms to picture books. You know, we know that these two speech bubbles kind of are connected with one another and that they're said over time. Those are the kinds of things that Gall and Gall are talking about. How do we read pictures, essentially? The other article that's on that page is from a section of a magazine called Lolly's Classroom. And it's called Making Picture Books the Words. And it's by Charlotte Zolotov. She is a children's book author. You can see her bio at the end. And in this article, Zolotov talks about writing a picture book from the author's point of view and kind of where the story comes from, where the pictures come from, and how they work together. She uses lots of examples from picture books, well-known books like Goodnight Moon. She uses other examples that maybe you hadn't read. She talks about Curious George here. She talks about my grandson Lou, and she talks about some of the books that she's written. So that is picture books from an author's perspective. So read one or the other of those. The next page under content is a lecture about MLA documentation. This is here for reference for an assignment that will be due later in the module. I'm going to come back to this. Okay, lots of links, a nice Dwight meme for fun. Okay, after we get through all of like that study content that let's look at children's lit as a discipline, we have some children's literature to look at. So we've got Zoom, the picture book Zoom. There's just a picture of it here. This book is cool in that there's lots of pictures, but no words. So as you read the story, you literally are reading those pictures like Gall and Gall talked about. So go through slowly as you look at that book and really read each illustration. I'd like everyone to read Zoom, and I'd like everyone to read Wonder Walkers. In this book, there are both words and pictures used to tell a story, and so you can look at it and you can really appreciate the way the pictures work and the way the words work and how they support each other. In addition to those two books that I'd like everyone to read, I want you to just read some more children's picture books. They're fun. I love reading picture books. They're often short. You can get through them quickly. They're pretty to look at. And so what I've done is I have provided you with a whole big list of links to books, and you can use any picture books if you've got something on your shelf at home or your child's shelf or your niece. And you can get something from the library if you'd like, but you can also use these links. So I have lots of books that are linked out to, you can actually see the whole book. I've got some that are in video format. I tried to gather a collection of books that were very different in illustration type and in tone. And so yeah, read some more picture books. No number on it, just whatever strikes your fancy. And finally, we're down to the third part of the module, which is assignments. As I mentioned, there are two assignments for this module. The first one is due this Thursday. And before you complete this assignment, you should definitely read one of those two articles, either the Zolotov article or the Gall and Gall article. And essentially, I'd like you to share an idea from the article that stood out to you. What was an aha moment you had when you were reading about picture books? What's something you never considered before? What's an idea that you really disagree with, or you don't like the way the author is coming about it? Like you think that there might be another perspective that that author missed. What's an idea that made you think back to an experience you've had with picture books? You can work with any idea you want. Pick out an idea that stood out to you. Make it interesting. Make it exciting. We're going to post those to the discussion board so that you can see what others are thinking. about this as well. So you can use this reply button to post your response, and then you can look at what others have said, and as you wish, comment on each other's ideas. The final thing to do for this module is due next Thursday, September 8th, and it is an illustration analysis. And essentially, I would like you to choose one picture book and analyze, not illustrate it, that's already been done, analyze how the pictures work in that book. As you've seen from all the content in this module, you'll have lots of kind of tools and vocabulary words and information that you will have learned once you go through all that, that you can use to talk about how pictures work in books. So choose one book and describe the way the illustrations work there. Please include specific examples in this analysis. So, for example, if I'm talking about the book Zoom, and I want to talk about how something in this picture really captures the reader's attention, I'm going to refer to this page. Of course, this book has no page numbers, which is hard. So you could take a screenshot of it, or you could just say, you know, I'm referring to the picture of two children looking out the window at the rooster, or whatever. But then I want you to talk about, how do these illustrations work? How do they help to move the reader's eyes across the page? How does this picture contribute to the bigger whole? Those are three things you could talk about with that picture, but really anything that you have noticed, maybe about how the color works, maybe about the fact that one page is always just black, solid black, and the other page has color and something, a picture to look at. That's one example. You guys can do lots of different things with this assignment. So refer to specific examples from the picture book that you're talking about, and bring in at least one quote or one idea, or refer to something that was in one of the other readings. So, you know, it could be in the textbook, online textbook, it could be from one of the articles, it could be from my lecture, it could be any of that stuff. In this assignment, you'll use MLA documentation to cite your sources. So we have that page earlier where you can go and refresh your memory about how to document sources. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, and then you can choose a way to submit. If you want to use a web URL, you can click this and it'll allow you to submit a address, or if you want to upload a file or whatever. So back to modules then. So that's how Module 2 is working. As always, if you have any questions at any time, you can always reach out to me. I've been talking with some of you over Canvas inbox, some people in person. So please just let me know what I can do to help. And remember, we have a tutor and a success coach who are making this course journey with us. So if you have questions for them, or if you want academic assistance, you could contact our tutor, Stephanie Walden. Or if you just need some kind of support, like keeping things organized, time management, maybe dealing with a challenge, you can reach out to our success coach, Tammy Truitt. And remember, their contact info is in the Getting Started module. There's Meet Your Faculty, that's me, your tutor, that's Stephanie Walden, and your success coach. So you can click on any of those pages for more info. Okay, see you guys online. Talk to you soon.